we're going to create some documentation. So we're going to install a couple of add-ons. Add-ons are packages that you can install and use with Storybook to add additional capabilities. We're going to have a bunch of them, so let's install them now. npm I, let me make this bigger here. We're going to do, okay, that was my old thing. npm I, we're going to do @storybook / preset create React app. So we're telling Storybook this is a create React app. We're going to install actions. I have to believe that's Storybook actions though. We'll find out. And add-on docs. Okay, so those three. And those are on the website. Feel free to go grab them in the using add-ons section. When we add these add-ons, every time we add an add-on, we have to tell Storybook about it. And we can do that by going to this main file up here that I just mentioned. So anytime we add an add-on, it has to go in here. So while that's loading, let's go ahead and do that. So let's add our preset create React app is actually already added here. So I actually didn't need to install it. We also have actions, and so I don't know why I just added those, but that's fine, not harming anything. And then we just need to add our docs. So @storybook / add-on -docs. This is going to give us that documentation for product management, for design, to go in and actually have something nice to look at. What I'm going to recommend is that you actually go over to the course notes, and under the add-ons story here, using add-ons, I have this file, or I have this big block of text here. This is Markdown. And this is going to be like our fake documentation for our components. So what I would say is let's copy this. It's a lot, but we'll see it rendering and I'll walk you through it. So inside of components, create a new file. I'm going to call it buttons.stories.js. Okay. I'm just going to copy and paste all this stuff in, and then we'll walk through it in just a second. Okay. So we've imported add-on docs, and you'll see what all of these packages are doing in just a second. And we've also imported our button components. So at the top here, we've got some metadata. What's the title of this story, and what component is this going to be documenting? And actually, I'm wondering, this should be MDX. We're going to be using MDX, which is a way to write Markdown with your JSX. Okay? And so what we need to do now that we have our documentation added, I want to tell Storybook that, hey, this file could be a JS file, but it could be an MDX file. So we're going to add that OR operator in there. So look for stories ending in JS or MDX, and let's render those. And this extension, this file extension, will be MDX. So buttons.stories.mdx. So now we can actually use Markdown to create documentation for our components. You're going to have, every time you add an add-on, you're going to have to restart your dev server. It's very unfortunate, especially given that my computer is very slow today. Okay, so once you have npm installed this add-on docs, we actually need to go and add it to our main.js file inside of this add-ons array. So this one's special. We want to give it an option, and this option is configure JSX true, just telling it basically that, hey, if we have JSX, go ahead and actually recognize that. So we add our add-on docs to the add-ons array, and then this is just some Markdown. So this is going to render our Markdown files into nice documentation that you can deploy and use with any stakeholder. They don't have to just be a developer. They could be designer, they could be product. Okay, and when you run npm run Storybook, if everything works as expected, you should now see this. So taking a look at this real quick, on our docs site, we have a header. It just says, here's what buttons are used for. This is where you would use them. And then we look down here and we have this preview element. Preview is coming from our add-on that we just added. So it comes from add-on docs. And then we create a story. I'm giving this name of primary. It's our primary button. You can see here the other story names are going to be secondary and tertiary. These names correspond to the tabs on the side. So whatever I change this to, it'll update here. And for whatever reason, let me see. you should have this secondary tab up here, docs. This is what our add-on just added for us, is this document tab, right? So we can see, if we compare this side by side, we have our title here, so buttons. Here's the text underneath that, our usage and all of that. You can even add like a props table as well for your components. And this actually, you can see, this is the code for it, okay? So that was our first add-on, the docs. Now what you'll notice though is that our buttons are not actually retaining any theme, right? We want to be able to actually trigger that. So let's go add another 2 plugins, 2 add-ons that are going to allow us to pass our theme and simulate a theme. So in your terminal, we're going to install 2 more add-ons. Let me clear this so it's a little easier to read. So npm install, and those are going to be at storybook / add-on - backgrounds. It's going to allow us to change the background of our storybook, and at storybook / add-on contexts, just like that, okay? And anytime we add an add-on, we have to add it to the add-on array inside of main.js. So while that is installing, let's go ahead and add it here. I probably typed that wrong. Add-on backgrounds. That's because backgrounds has an S. Seems to be the theme today. Let's try that again. In the meantime, I'm going to go add these. So at storybook, add-on contexts. This needs to have a register at the end. So /register. We have to tell Storybook that we need to use this. Okay, it's going to be the same for backgrounds. So I'm just going to copy and paste that. This is just going to be changed to backgrounds. So register both of those. Now we actually need to create our context. So we've told Storybook we want to add this plugin. Let's tell it what we want it to do. You can use this for language if you want to change the language of your application. We're going to use it for theme. So let's create a new file called context.js. And we're going to import a couple of things. First is theme provider from styled components. The second is our themes. We need to actually pass our themes. So import default theme and dark theme from our utils folder. And then we're just going to export an array of different properties. And it's going to be an array of objects. So each object is a different configuration. So export const contexts equals array. So you can have multiple contexts. We're just going to have one. It's going to be an object. We can set icon. This one's going to be shown in the toolbar. Don't need to set that. It's really not useful right now. For title, we want to give it themes. This is our color theme. For components, we're going to be using theme provider. That's going to go into an array. And now we need to give it some parameters. So params. What do we need this theme provider to kind of switch between? So the first, we're going to call default theme. That's the name of it. That'll show up in the toolbar. In the property, theme provider needs a theme. So this will be our default theme. And optionally, we can pass just one more argument, default, true. So this will be what it's originally set to. And we're going to do the same for dark theme. So this will be dark theme. The props, this will set the theme to dark theme. And that's it. So those are our parameters. I think I messed up a bracket. Where did I mess it up? I think I have a couple too many. Theme, default theme.
Left of default?
Left of default. Here? Wait. Oh yeah. Yeah, you're totally right. Thank you. That should not be closed there. There we go. You know when it auto pretties, you're like, yeah, I'm good. Awesome. We're just gonna set 2 more options down here. So right after the params array here, add one more object. So it's gonna be options. So deep true, but this is gonna say, hey, we need to pass this property all the way through every child component. So pass our theme all the way through every single component. disable. We don't want this to be disableable. It's the word today. And cancelable, false. So this is not going to be optional. So someone brought up a really good point that I made a mistake. I actually forgot to wrap my dark theme within context.js in curly brackets. So make sure that those are wrapped. And inside of preview.js, make sure your backgrounds has an S, because I did just make that mistake and it didn't actually work. Okay, so now we have our context. Now we can actually pass this. So we need to make one more file in our storybook folder to get this to work. It's going to be called preview.js. And this is where we're going to configure all of our like decorators. So a decorator is going to be what we use with our add-ons. So let's say we're going to import add parameters storybook/React. This will all make sense in a second once we get these parameters. Add decorator from, that's coming from the same place. I'm gonna combine those. Import with contexts. So we need to actually pass our context to our decorator. So this is coming from at storybook add-on contexts /React, because this is a React application. And let's just import that context we just made. Contexts from contexts. Cool. So the first parameter we want to add is our background. So let's do add parameters. So what do we want to set a dark background when we have our default theme so we can see our components, and we want to set a light background when we have our dark theme components. So backgrounds, it's going to be an array. So default theme is going to have a value of white. So when our components are dark colored, we want that on a white background so we can see them. And this is going to be the default value. So we'll set default again to true. And the other is just going to be the dark theme. So when our components are in their dark theme, let's set the background to a dark blue. 0500449. And the only other thing that we need to do to get this to work is just add a decorator. We want to actually use our theme now. So with contexts, and pass it the context we just made. So whenever you add an add-on, you're going to actually have to restart your Storybook server. So make sure you stop and restart it. And when you do, you should have these two up here, these two little icons. They're very tiny. The first one on the left is going to be our theme. So if we change to a dark theme, our components disappear and they have our dark theme. Obviously we can't see them. That's why we also need to change our background. So there we go. Now we actually can see our components in dark theme. And you can do this for any theme that you have.